Talk. I'm Aaron Michael Sanchez. That's right, you're listening to Money Talk with Jesse Torres. But Jesse's not with us today because he is lounging it up in San Diego today. That's right. He's actually at the International Money Transmitters Conference. That sounds very big. It sounds like a lot of, right? Doesn't it sound big? And so he's doing that right now while we're here. He asked me to fill in, and we have an awesome show for you guys today. In fact, today I am joined with Jeff Bazan. Jeff, what are you, like the producer of television shows, entrepreneur,
couple of things,
ex-Chippendale dancer.
Let's move on to Corey.
And then we're also joined with Corey Baim. We're going to talk to him in a moment. Corey's got some great experience. I mean, he is a musician, but he's more than a musician. He's also got a business. And, you know, it's funny because we talk to a lot of people that transition from corporate America. They have a dream. They go into that dream. Sometimes it's a passion. They go for the passion, and then they make a career somewhere down the line in between the two. So I'm excited to talk to Corey about that in a moment. But later on in the show, we have Dr. Dave Lesman of Kangen Water, or Inagik, and we're going to talk to him. Very interesting about water and the differences of how the alkaline in water is used and how it can be reduced and or increased in some ways. And then, of course, we have Jennifer Burson of Generation PR. This is a woman that went from a lawyer to public relations. Again, this is going to be our theme, I think, of how we transition. And then, last but not least, a very good friend of mine. We've got from Alegria Magazine, Davina Ferreira, which is the editor and creator of Alegria Magazine. In fact, they have a party going on later. If you guys want to go, you're going to want to tune in to the rest of this show at the end as we talk about the party. You're more than invited. If you're listening in, of course, you want to get there early. Okay, guys, so if you want to go, we got to go in early. You've got to do the VIP line.
Where's it at?
It's we'll wait for that. Right? That's at the end of the show. You got to wait.
Suspense.
Yeah, suspense. You might get a yeah, exactly. But bring your Chippendale outfit. I'm sure the girls will come even more. Okay, so we've got Corey Baim. Welcome to the show, Corey.
Thanks for having me.
And you're in studio. That's always nice.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Now, Corey, you've got a very interesting company here. It's called IE Design and Communications. But I want to go back a little bit because your background actually started in mortgage banking.
Yeah.
Now, when people automatically think banking, they kind of think of this suit and tie person, which is going to tell you yes or no, or rip you off, right? I mean, I'm not saying that banks do that, but some have.
Yeah.
And yet then you went from that to a musician, and I have to say this so that you don't have to toot your horn. I'm going to toot your horn. You played with like Green Day,
yes,
Sublime, Blink 182. How did all that happen?
Yeah, it was just actually friends from high school I started a band with. And basically right out of school, I got a job as a mortgage banker, like you said. I was wearing a suit and tie, but I was playing punk rock at night. So, and as the band started getting bigger, we put out a couple records. We started getting offers to go on tour. So I quit the mortgage banking gig, and I went on tour with the band. We'd go on tour for several months. And then they'd hire me back. Then same thing would happen. Then when the band started kind of infighting a little bit, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Then I started this company with my wife.
Well, that's when you know you have a good band, is when you actually have fighting, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're actually doing something.
Exactly, right? If you're not doing anything, you're not really spending time together. But yeah, so you started this with your wife. How long had you been with your wife before this?
We weren't married at the time, but we had been together since college. We went to college together up in Santa Barbara.
Was she one of your groupies?
No. She wasn't a big fan of the band. I'd be on tour all the time.
She was like, on the please, I need a full-time job out of you.
Exactly.
Go back to banking.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So that's how it started. My wife was she was in music a little bit too at the time. She actually was on tour with Madonna while I was on tour with
No
my
way!
band.
What did she do with Madonna?
She was a stylist for Madonna. She had a good friend who was Madonna's assistant.
Uh-huh.
So she'd go on tour with Madonna, flying on the MGM Grand. I'm sleeping on the floor of a van. You know, it was like two different worlds of music.
And you'd meet up in between, I'm sure. Yeah.
And then she started, and she's very artistic. She was a creative director at a firm after that. She wasn't very happy there. My band was breaking up, and we decided, hey, we'll just go into business together. I'll run the business side, she'll do the creative side. Out of our living room, 19 years ago, we started it. And then progressed over the years. We moved out of that house and moved over to Studio City, Then actually moved to Raleigh Studios when we moved down here to Manhattan Beach. We had this place for a couple of years, and then we bought a building in Hermosa Beach on PCH, redid it, and we've been there for 10 years.
This is awesome because I want to talk about this because we talk, money talks.
Yep.
And sometimes money doesn't talk to you. You have to talk to the money to grow it. Yep. And it seems like you've been doing that with you and your wife. Now, I have to ask, some people, you kind of went through that really quick. Yep. How long were you in your house doing it? Because sometimes people think, I need to go get a business, got to get a brick and mortar place, and started off right there. How long were you in your house building up this company?
We were in our first house for a couple years, building the company, and then we bought this house in Studio City and had a place in that house for the business. So it was another couple years in there. Then we were kind of outgrowing that, and we were hiring more people. After about, I would say, almost 4 years, then we moved into a space in Studio City. Now,
tell us, again, we want to talk about IE design and communications because so often people focus on, a friend of a family, especially if they're a small business, and they go, well, I kind of know Photoshop, so, I'm going to go ahead and create a graphic that's in my head. What are the advantages of going with your company?
That's a really good point. There's a lot of people that say they're designers, and there's some talent out there. You might get lucky, and you might. But when we're working with a company, we're a graphic design and marketing agency, we really get into try and really do our homework and do a lot of research and really try and figure out what the essence of these companies are. Rather than just making a logo look pretty, we're going to find out what's going to actually work for the company. So we'll get in, we'll meet with people there, the stakeholders of the company, might meet with clients, might meet with whoever potential clients are, people that they didn't get. We'll try to get in the heads of not only the company, but what they're trying to achieve and who their audiences are. Then we'll start designing. So rather than just picking up a pen or whatever, jumping on the computer and starting to design a logo, we go through a real process. And I think it really helps these companies because and then we'll give them options. We'll do the logo. We'll do their identity system. We'll do their printed pieces, their website. And we won't just make it look pretty, social media. We'll make sure that we're designing it appropriately for what they're trying to achieve.
Well, and again, what people sometimes forget is this is your lifelong image that you're creating too, right? So you're helping brand them and get not just in their head, but something that's going to be visually appealing because this is where your background is. You know what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, and a lot of times we'll get projects from people that tried to go the route you were talking about. It just isn't working for us. And it's tough because maybe they already have some equity in their look and their logo, and it's tough to really do a complete change. I mean, you can do it, no problem, but better to do it at the beginning, spend a little more money, and do it right. You don't have to do it again.
Let's talk about that really quick. We have less than a minute, so I'm going to talk about that. But, I'm starting up a business. I know this is my first thing I need to do in building the image because that's going to go across the brands. Like you said, Facebook, Twitter, all of these are going to have that logo.
Yep.
What's the most cost what's the least you can do for somebody? Is it tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars? What is it?
I mean, for us, I try to work with smaller businesses, and we do a lot of work with larger businesses, and that's fine too. But I have a special place in my heart for smaller businesses. I would say that you probably should spend some money and do your logo and your identity system, maybe a printed piece, and your website, and do it all right. That's a real basic start. But you're talking, maybe 10 to 30,000. It's not 50 or 100,000.
Right.
Maybe you can do it for a little cheaper, and you can definitely do it for cheaper if you go with someone else. But that's just a company of our size. But I would recommend trying to do it right out of the gate and really put your best foot forward because you never know how much business you could be getting or losing if you're not doing it right. And someone could see you and see the competition and say, "Well, these people don't really have their act together."
Right. Or there may be a logo very similar out there already that you're like, "Oops, I just got somebody."
One question: how do you stand apart from the crowd? Because that's what happens so many times. Is so many logos look exactly like they want to do like a organic company and make everything brown. How do you take that into consideration?
Yeah, I mean, when we are doing our research, we're looking at the competition and we're trying to figure out what is going to work for this company. And we will look at a lot of different logos of who they're going up against. So, and how are you going to get your niche? What are you good at? Like, what are you going to hang your hat on as opposed to, hey, we do a little bit for everyone. Like, what are you best at? And we're going to try and push that. And it's all about, like building the brand it's not just about making something look good. It's about voice, tone, how you're writing about your company. I think Southwest Airlines is a good example. They're going up against United and Delta Airlines, these very established companies. And they go from top to bottom. Southwest is, young, kind of go-getter type company, short flights. We're going to, make it happen for you. And all the way down to, like, their flight attendants are very fun. Like, it's all about the brand and trying to stand out. So I think, you really got to figure out what's right for the company.
Okay.
Right.
Well, we have to take a quick break.
Sure.
And in fact, speaking of branding, we have to talk to our advertisers right now.
Absolutely.
And let our listeners talk to them a little. Stay tuned for more on Money Talk with Jesse Torres. I'm Aaron Michael Sanchez. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Some people